It is dusk in a village courtyard on the island of Bali. Oil lamps flicker against carved stone walls, and the air carries the scent of frangipani and incense. Then, without warning, a wave of bronze breaks across the night. Dozens of hammers strike keys and knobs at once, and the courtyard erupts into a shimmering, metallic tide of sound. This is gamelan, the orchestral tradition of the Indonesian archipelago. On Bali, it is not merely music. It is a form of communal breath, a devotional offering, and a technology of listening refined across centuries. And at the heart of its unmistakable sound lies a secret hiding in plain hearing. The secret is called ombak, the Balinese word for wave. Every metallophone in a Balinese gamelan is built and tuned in pairs. One instrument is tuned slightly higher than its partner by only a few cycles per second. When both are struck together, their tones interfere and the air itself begins to pulse. That pulse is the shimmer listeners hear from the very first note. It is not vibrato produced by a player. It is not electronic reverb. It is acoustic beating, born from two tunings deliberately placed out of unison. The gamelan does not sing in one voice. It sings in trembling, interlocking twos. The instruments themselves are cast from bronze, an alloy of copper and tin. Smiths in villages such as Tihingan on the southern coast still forge them by hand. Molten metal is poured, hammered, cooled, and hammered again. Each key is filed against a tuning reference until it sits in precise relation to its partner across the ensemble. There is no single standard pitch across Bali. There is no equivalent of concert A at 440 Hz. Each gamelan set is tuned to itself and to itself alone. An instrument from one village cannot simply be dropped into an ensemble from another. The sets are, in a sense, unique organisms. The tuning systems themselves are ancient. Two dominant scales shape Balinese music. Pelog is a 7-tone system, often used in 5-tone selections, associated with courtly and ceremonial repertoire. Slendro is a 5-tone system, lighter and more open, favoured in shadow puppet performance and older village traditions. Yet within these scales, the intervals are not fixed. A pelog on one gamelan will differ, sometimes strikingly, from a pelog on another. Musicologists in the 20th century tried to chart these differences with cent measurements and spectrograms. What they documented was not imprecision, but a living aesthetic of variation. The paired tuning tradition has a name in Balinese practice. The lower instrument is called pengembang, the hummer. The higher is called pengaisip, the sucker or inhaler. Together they breathe, one exhaling while the other draws in. The listener hears not two tones but the space vibrating between them. This shimmer is central to the most celebrated style of Balinese gamelan, the gong kebyar. Kebyar emerged in the north of Bali in the early 20th century, first documented around 1915 in the region of Buleleng. Its name means to flare up, to burst into flame. It abandoned older, statelier forms for sudden dynamic shifts and dazzling speed. Kebyar demanded new virtuosity. Players called the technique kotkan, an interlocking pattern where two musicians share a single melodic line at breakneck tempo. One plays the on-beats, the other the off-beats. Neither can play the full phrase alone. Together, they produce a torrent of notes no single hand could execute. The dancer Mario of Tabanan became the face of Kebyar in the 1920s and 1930s. His performances of the Kebyar Duduk, danced from a seated position, drew audiences from across the island and beyond. Western visitors, including the composer Colin McPhee, arrived in Bali and were transfixed. McPhee would spend years transcribing gamelan into Western notation. McPhee's book, House in Bali, published in 1946, introduced the tradition to a global readership. He described the paired tuning, the interlocking parts, the shimmering waves. His transcriptions influenced American composers including Lou Harrison and later, Steve Reich. The Balinese aesthetic of interference and interlocking would ripple outward through the 20th century. But at home, gamelan remained ceremonial before it was ever concert music. A village gamelan belongs to the banjar, the local community association. It is stored in a communal pavilion, played at temple festivals, cremations, weddings, and tooth-filing rites. To play is a form of civic duty, not a career. Rehearsals happen at night, after work in the rice fields is done. Musicians learn by ear, by imitation, by sitting beside a senior player and watching the hands. There are no printed scores in traditional practice. The music is held in bodies and in the metal itself, waiting for the next strike of the mallet. At the center of every ensemble sits the great gong, the gong ejeng. Its deep, slow pulse anchors every cycle of the music. Above it, smaller gongs, drums, and metallophones weave faster and faster layers. The structure is cyclic, not linear. Melodies return, transform, and return again, marking sacred time. The drummer, the kendang player, is the ensemble's conductor. Through subtle patterns and accents, the drummer signals tempo changes, transitions, and endings. In kebiar, two drummers play interlocking parts, male and female drums answering each other. Their conversation guides the entire orchestra through its sudden, cinematic shifts. In 1971, the Indonesian government founded a national conservatory in Denpasar, later known as ISI Bali. For the first time, gamelan entered formal academic study. New compositions, called krisi baru, pushed the tradition into experimental territory. Some traditionalists worried. Others saw a living art continuing to evolve as it always had. Today, Balinese Gamelan ensembles exist on 6 continents. Universities from California to Tokyo commission full sets from Balinese smiths. Each set arrives with its own tuning, its own paired shimmer, its own voice. And each requires the community around it to learn to listen the Balinese way, in waves rather than in single tones. Back in the village courtyard, the final gong sounds. Its low tone hangs in the air, and slowly the shimmer fades. What lingers is the memory of 2 pitches breathing against each other, of a music built not from purity but from productive difference. In Bali, the sound of togetherness is the sound of being tuned, deliberately in pairs.